interest in watching the recording. So the recording has started. My name is Jill Berea, and I am an Associate Director in the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement at Columbia, and I'm going to serve as the moderator today. As you can see, we have two other presenters on the call, and then at the end, we'll definitely have time for some FAQs. Before we get started, we have a handful of attendees on the call, so it would be great just to see, given that this is a global experience that reaches, as we like to say, from different parts of the United States, from Indiana all the way to Istanbul and beyond. So if you feel comfortable and are interested, it'd be great to put in the chat where you are currently located. So any students that are on the call, if you want to put your city, state, country, Bowling Green, Ohio. I'm a fellow Ohioan myself from Cleveland, so exciting to see. Got somebody coming in from North Carolina, New York City, New Orleans, got somebody just up the street at Morningside, a handful of people in New York City. We've got somebody in Malaysia, a bit later in the day there. San Diego, somebody in India. So obviously, good morning and good afternoon and good night to many of the attendees present on the call today. And this is an opportunity for, as being part of the Collaboratory, to engage with people from all over the world. So we're really excited to see a handful of locations represented. We're going to provide you an overview of the session of the Collaboratory today. As you may have heard, we had a pilot experience that took place this summer, and you'll get to learn a little bit more about that program experience today, as well as the second cohort experience that will take place this fall. As I said earlier, we will have a Q&A at the end for any questions that you might have. We've had a handful of questions that have come through from our students over the past few months. This is officially a program that started this summer, so excited to continue to hear the questions that you might have and ways in which we can expand on any questions that you might have. And a transcript is available upon request at the end, so please feel free to email us at the end if that's of interest. Can go to slide 2, Scott, for me, please. Now I'm going to formally introduce the others on the call. So first off, Dean Shannon Marquez. She's the Dean of Undergraduate Global Engagement. I call her in many ways the visionary of the Collaboratory itself. She's really been our leader in leading the way on such a wonderful initiative to connect Columbia students, the Columbia community, and beyond in this initiative. So she will be sharing more about the program today. And then Dean Scott Carpenter will also be sharing a bit more about the nuts and bolts of the program. He comes to us with over 15 years of experience at Columbia in international education. So now I'm going to shift it over to Shannon. She's going to share a bit more about the background of the experience, as well as how you can get involved.
Thank you, Jill, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am pleased you can join us today to talk about something new and exciting that Undergraduate Global Engagement has launched this past summer as a pilot. And now we're extremely thrilled that it's continuing on a larger scale this academic year. So the Global Columbia Collaboratory is something new for the Columbia community. It gives students a chance to have a global learning opportunity that brings a vast global network together in collective endeavors. It really is a virtual exchange. And the education abroad community of practice has long embraced programs like this one to engage students in global learning through collaborative online programs. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has impeded travel worldwide, so that made this summer a perfect opportunity for UGE to launch this adventure in global learning that you can engage without leaving home. That's right, it does not require mobility, and this is really timely in this point in time. Given its success and how it allows for a new approach to global learning, we expect the Collaboratory to be a feature of undergraduate global engagements and Columbia's global engagement portfolio moving forward. So we're excited to share this because this will be an ongoing new opportunity. So let me touch on a few key areas about what global learning is. You might know that the My Columbia College Journey framework highlights global awareness as a key competency for students to develop during their time at Columbia and beyond. And UGE is charged with helping students to develop their global learning competencies. Much of what students derive from working with others cross-culturally involves sets of skills and competencies that go beyond the classroom, however. And in global learning, students confront and adapt to new perspectives. They learn how to be flexible to challenges, to their worldview. They also learn more about global systems and their own place within it. And finally, global learning involves students taking stock of how they have an impact on the world and engaging in critical dialogue across cultures. So many of these skills are resonant with the challenges of the world today, especially since we are all confronting the biggest global challenge probably in our lifetime. And that's why these global learning components are all born and in the Collaboratory. It really is a way to demonstrate all of this, for us to walk the walk, and it's an incredible experience for us, particularly given this, what's happening in the world today. The Global Columbia Collaboratory addresses global challenges, and that is one of the key features. Participants will hear from faculty and experts drawn from the vast Columbia Global Network about the implications of the pandemic, about how other global challenges have had on people and systems around the globe. You'll have a platform to reflect on the global challenges impacting your local community and really sharing, and also learning about what people around the world are doing to address these challenges. And this is your chance to document this part of living history and learn from one another in all the places you live. So you'll also have the chance to design and collaborate on projects and ideas that can make a difference in the world locally and globally. And this ideation and collaboration phase is where the program earns the term Collaboratory, a name that we have developed that really signifies how we're building a space where people can explore collaborative innovations, how to make an impact on the world, and collectively you have a chance to work together. We've also taken the time to really integrate some incredible ways to help you frame this even further. The broad framework of the seminar themes are actually buttressed by the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which help to solve the most urgent challenges through the collaboration, information exchange, and capacity strengthening around the world. And so these 17 objectives really are front and center. And if you think about most of the pivotal challenges of our lifetime now, they really go across these various sectors and issues. So although the seminars are not all focused in these areas, what we find is students begin to really engage in dialogue, and this is used as a framing for that discussion and even for projects. Now, we have designed this experience to be multimedia and interactive. It will have limited synchronous components, only some Zoom, and I know we're all sort of really getting exhausted with the virtual learning that we're having to do at this point in time. And so we have been very intentional in making sure that there are synchronous but also asynchronous components. You'll be invited to reflect individually and in groups in your own ways and on your own time through an interactive interface. So you may have followed our social media campaign over the past few weeks, where the Global Columbia Collaboratory taglines have appeared, especially reflect, ideate, and collaborate. And those are the key ideas driving the Global Columbia Collaboratory. Now more than ever, our strength lies in the diversity of our Global Columbia community. And we know this new program will be a rewarding way for you to tap into the strength and contribute your perspectives. We hope you'll join us on this exciting journey this fall. So now Scott will talk more about the setup of the Collaboratory and what's in store for you this fall if you decide to participate. We encourage you to do so. You don't want to miss this. He'll also talk through the timeline and the application process. Scott?
Shannon, thanks so much for that introduction and inspiring words as always. I'm really excited to talk with you about the components of the Collaboratory this fall and how this will all work. You heard a little bit from Shannon about the three main components, the global seminars, the reflection activities, and ideation and collaboration. We'll go into each one of these a little bit more. So first, the global seminars. These are developed in conjunction with Columbia Global Centers. They're seminars that are open to the public, and they feature thought leaders, experts, and faculty from around the globe. Panelists and other participants will be drawn from all around the world. They're informative seminars. They set the tone for what you can learn about the broad areas related to global challenges and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals more broadly. And they do so in a variety of global contexts. This part is in Zoom, but it's recorded for those who might be interacting with it asynchronously. Students will also have the chance to ask and answer questions of the panelists both before and during the sessions. After each global seminar, Collaboratory participants will have a week or so to engage in active reflection with each other. This is their chance to reflect on the learning experiences from the global seminar. How are the topics that are discussed playing out in your communities? What did you learn from the global seminars? This allows you to strengthen your understanding of the topic and contribute and share your perspectives. This is where you will upload photos, videos, essays, many kinds of documents and artifacts that illustrate how the broad theme related to global challenges is playing out in your community. You'll have the chance to see what people around the world are thinking and feeling, and you'll contribute your piece to this living history. We expect you to be able to be creative in this space. This is not necessarily another Zoom session. There are other ways of interacting. And we've had students in the past round of the Collaboratory really exercise some creativity, get out in the world, document, film, interview what's going on around you, and to share that with others. The ideation and collaboration stage, all the students will engage in seminars and reflection, and to a certain extent the collaboration phase builds on that. But other students will also choose to form groups and actually actively work on projects that make a difference in the world. So this is the space where, again, you discuss what you've learned so far related to the global seminar, but also from what you learned about each other. This is really the collaboratory part of the project where ideas will emerge, and in small groups you'll elaborate concept notes or short proposals that you can make for potential recognition and funding to help bring your team's projects to reality during the project phase. And so that final facet, closer to the end of the term and into the following term, groups will then be funded after submitting their proposals and concept notes. They'll be funded and recognized to further actualize an idea throughout the following months. So this is a slide that shows how the 3 successive rounds of global seminar, reflection, and ideation activities that happen over the course of the 3 months of the Collaboratory this term feed into the reflection and to feed into the collaboration and ideation projects. So you may see here on the right examples of those projects. And we have actual tangible examples from this summer's pilot that we'll share in just a minute. But these can be all sorts of different kind of ideas, from essays, performance, visual media, art installations. They can be calls to action, social impact projects, policy proposals, awareness campaigns. It could be a design build, a technical product, or an app. All sorts of different kinds of activities and projects can come out of this. This slide shows how the interaction of the 3 seminars work over the months of October, November, and December, with the concept notes and project phase to follow in the month or 2 following. I'll now dive in a little bit more detail into the 3 components. This summer, as was mentioned, the pandemic was front and center as the main topic for the seminars. Those revolved around public health, human interaction, and supply chains as it relates to the pandemic. But there are a host of other topics and issues, again, undergirded by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and that allow experts from around the world, from Columbia's network, to contribute their ideas and for students to interact with those. This could be anything from human rights to nutrition and food security, clean water and energy, impact of migration and vulnerable refugee communities. The list goes on and on. But as Dean Mark has mentioned, these are all related to global issues that have worldwide impact and relate to global systems that we'll learn more about. As was mentioned, reflection is really where creative ideas can flow. So this is really where students are able to solidify the learning from the seminars and learn from each other. So students are invited to submit audio, video, digital storytelling pieces, writing, performance even, anything that kind of demonstrates what it is that you're learning, what it is that your community is thinking and feeling related to the global topic. This is an example of an interaction in our discussion boards over the course of the summer related to what reflection might look like, with one student chiming in about what the pandemic in the summer looked like in one country in China, and then a reflection upon that. And as one small example of how reflection can unfold in our discussion boards. As we share our learning and perspectives, ideas will emerge. This is the collaboration and ideation phase. So this is where a lot of different ideas will be floated, where we'll work and team up with you on how to actually bring ideas to reality. And it's a place to share inspiration with each other, to iterate and refine those ideas, and then eventually to kind of build a way to work on projects that actually have a tangible impact in the world. This is a view of what occurred in the summer as it relates to some of the projects. We had 60 participants in the Collaboratory. 2/3 of them stayed on for the project phase and formed themselves into 9 different teams of various sizes, and also received funding to get their projects done. And I'll share now just a few examples of the collaborations that came out of the summer pilot. You could see more details and applicable resources on these on the UGE website. You can see anything from podcasts and storybooks, providing under-resourced communities around the world with Wi-Fi tablets, to social impact campaigns, virtual time capsules, and more. This is a bit of an overview of the timeline, and we'll get into the application after that. So through the months of October, November, December is when you would have the global seminars and reflection rounds, where you have the seminars reflect on key learnings and begin to form groups. In November, December, and into January allows for the submission of concept notes. These are the proposals from teams of students who want to move forward with some of their ideas. Once those concept notes are submitted and recognized and funded, students then have the chance to work on those into the next term. We thought it was important for some of the pieces of work to be offset with the end of the semester, so that students could dig into this project piece moving into the following term. And as was showcased here, the projects then live on the website of UGE, as well as students participate in a symposium where community members from around the world are invited to view the progress made on the projects at that point. An important aspect of the Collaboratory is the funding element. Of special note, resource funds are available for all students to participate in the global seminars and reflection and collaboration and ideation activities. This could range anything from needs to cover connectivity, data issues, software, and more. So that's available to all students in the Collaboratory that want to participate. Further resource support is available when students are continuing in the collaboration phase, and then project funding is available to actually provide some liftoff for the projects to be able to be made into reality. The program benefits are really numerous. It's a chance for you to develop your network, both locally and globally, to learn more about topics of pressing global importance. Very importantly, and students boarding this out in the summer, really building community with Columbia students from around the world. In a time of separation and isolation, students this summer found this to be a really key takeaway and benefit from the program. You'll also have team building activities around interdisciplinary collaboration. You're invited to construct ways to make an impact, and you strengthen your global competencies, as was discussed earlier, on perspective taking, critical reflection, personal and social responsibility, and students also have fun in the process. The time commitment for the bulk of the program is 1 to 2 weeks, with probably a bit more as the projects start to develop. It runs for 9 to 10 weeks starting in October. And then the project phase is optional, and it runs for an additional 6 weeks, moving into January and February. As mentioned, there's a student resource fund for all collaboratory participants and funding for the individual projects that the teams come up with. So some of the nuts and bolts of the application. The application deadline is October 5th. We'll share the link in the chat. And just to give a brief thumbnail of what the application looks like. These are really reflective activities and prompts. There are some questions to kind of highlight your interest in the collaboratory in a couple of different ways. And you're invited to showcase a piece of how you're contributing to history right now as a kind of precursor to some of the reflection activities that takes place. So it could already have that creative part right in the application itself. I will send things back to Jill to talk a little bit more about the Q&As that have come through. And this is the website, which we can also put into the chat, which is exactly where you would apply. And I think we could open things up for some questions.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much to Shannon and Scott for providing the overview. Hopefully it sounds like an exciting opportunity for the fall. I would say personally, having worked with the group of students over the summer, the amount of energy and enthusiasm that students were able to have, that they were able to have over the course of the summer and will continue as they continue to be mindful of their projects has been really an exciting time, an exciting opportunity given where we are in the world these days. So at this stage, we are open to any questions. You are welcome to put them in the Q&A box. You can put them in anonymously or put them in with your name, I believe. And I will read them aloud and we can divide and conquer in terms of responding. The first question, what do you anticipate as the time commitment? So thank you so much for asking this question. So as Scott had shared, the program runs for about 9 to 10 weeks, and that will consist of seminar engagement and also reflective experiences alongside the collaboratory members. And then it will be an additional 5 to 6 weeks, give or take, for the project experience if you wish to participate. Each week, we would say it's approximately 1 to 2 hours a week of time. We recognize that over the summer, students may not have been involved in class, but this semester we're definitely being mindful of that. So 1 to 2 hours a week. That being said, I know that there were definitely some eager students that were likely probably more engaged than that this summer, and you're definitely that time commitment can increase if you wish to collaborate a little bit more intentionally with your group members as the groups start to form. But approximately 1 to 2 hours a week is something that you can be mindful of. Other questions, please feel free to write them in the chat if you have any additional. Another great question, what kind of topics can we anticipate for the seminars? As we had spoken earlier, this summer was a focus on the pandemic and then honed in on 3 particular topics. Scott had provided an overview of a handful of topics that might exist for the semester. I guess, Scott or Shannon, any particular topics that we foresee for the upcoming semester, or should we just look forward to those being finalized over the coming months?
Well, I think the great thing about the Collaboratory is that the topics that are introduced are quite timely, and the whole purpose is to really frame discussion. So, we will continue to really talk about the most pressing issues of our time. And that's not necessarily just the pandemic, but there are an array of global challenges that actually are ancillary and really related. And so I think the sense of urgency and really having dialogue around these critical issues is really what the Collaboratory is going to focus on.
Great.
And I'm just putting in the chat a list of what the summer series looked like, just as by way of example, and as a reminder, the pandemic was the specific focus of the summer, and so we're taking a broader view of global challenges, but this is an example of what the three seminars look like this summer. So that's it just went out in the chat.
Yeah, and I would say I would echo Shannon's comments in terms of topics being very timely. Over the course of the summer, there was a topic focused on social interaction, which I felt like was very timely given the space in which we're all working and living in right now. And so a year ago, we might not have foreseen that topic, but obviously was very relevant for the summer. We have another question that's focused on how inclusive is the program? It's a great question. Maybe Scott, would you want to share perspective on that?
For sure. This is a great question. And really, some of the main attributes of this program is really highlighting, the strength of the Columbia community in terms of its diversity and its international reach. We really went out of our way to make sure that we had students from around the world and from a variety of different backgrounds participating in the summer. And we continue that endeavor here in the fall. It's really important as global learning, as part of the goals, that we really have a broad array of students' perspectives included. We also developed community guidelines so that dialogue can unfold in a way that works and is inclusive. And then I also mentioned the Student Resource Fund can also contribute to breaking down any barriers to access that some students might also have while we're separated and with technological needs that might arise. So I think those elements are really baked into what the Collaboratory is all about, because it's really bringing students from around the world together in this endeavor. And we can't do that without including everybody that we can.
Yeah, I want to add that in terms of looking at how inclusive the program is and diversity in general, we've also really been intentional about even looking at not only geographical diversity, but the diversity of backgrounds and majors, domains that people have an interest in. So all of that really contributes to the rich environment of the Collaboratory. And so it really is an opportunity to share perspectives and worldviews, but also have some disciplinary knowledge that is shared as well.
Wonderful. The next question that we see is, will the participants from the summer continue working on their projects? That's a great question. I'm happy to start. So as Scott had shared, we had 9 groups that participated over the course of the summer, and there was a symposium of them presenting their projects this past Friday that was really exciting to hear updates as to the progress they've made thus far. I would say formally, we recognize that this is a time frame that you would participate in the Collaboratory, but we also recognize the value of having projects that you personally are interested in that you want to move forward with. So some of those summer students definitely had some short-term goals and then some long-term goals. And I would foresee that as an opportunity, they'll continue to connect with one another and obviously connect with us within the Collaboratory to provide some updates. You'll see on the Collaboratory website, there's a gallery of all of the projects, and you'll notice that they're in differing stages because there's something to be said about not being able to accomplish an entire project all at the same exact time frame, and that definitely makes sense given how big the idea is. So we encourage ongoing collaboration if that's of interest, but we also don't want to put additional pressure on you should you get to a place where you feel comfortable and confident as to where your project currently stands. Is any additional notes on that?
I think, go ahead.
I wanted to also add, in reflecting on the question about being inclusive, I want to reiterate that one of the great lessons we learned from the summer was that the more the merrier in terms of really contributing to the rich environment that we have by having so many different perspectives. And so the scale up of this will be significant. In fact, we anticipate having a much larger cohort, which would make it really more inclusive. And we're really eager to do that. And so spread the word, even if you have friends and colleagues who have not been able to participate in the info session today, please let students know that we're eager to have them apply, because we're really interested in expanding this and to make it more inclusive in that way.
Just to mention, there was a question, I think, about looking at the projects further. So I shared in the chat, just let me know if these aren't coming through, the link to the place on the UGE website where students can click through, read more about the projects. And I think several of those also link out to the students' projects websites, where you can actually see the way in which some of those projects are continuing very directly, and lay out their plans, and actually ways for other students to get involved even in those projects. There's calls to action around health issues, around fictional accounts related to the pandemic, and other global challenges. So feel free to interact in those spaces, because these are really representative of the students' ongoing work.
And we had an amazing symposium last week, which we're hoping to post the recording of that. So you will have the opportunity to also see how the groups really frame their projects and how the genesis of that. And I just was blown away by that. So keep an eye out for that link that could give you an opportunity to really take a deep dive and see what the projects were all about.
And I think on that note, we had a question regarding, will our summer students that participated in the pilot experience be able to participate again in the fall formally? And yes, I think to Shannon's point, this is an opportunity to really be inclusive of the Columbia community. I'm really excited to really expand the program for this fall, given that the summer was a pilot stage. So students can definitely reapply if they participated in the summer. And looking forward to having those applications as well as additional students beyond. Other questions? There was a question regarding the application. I was going to say, just to give a brief overview, and Scott, feel free to share. The application is posted on the Collaboratory website and is available until October 5th. So we encourage you to open it up today. You can definitely see the details of it. I think most importantly, there are no right or wrong answers. Providing an authentic understanding of why you're interested in participating in the Collaboratory is key. And really there's two questions that share your interest in the program itself, and then a reflective piece that can come in a variety of different mediums, whether it be a written piece. Students have submitted videos that they've created in the past, or specifically created for the Collaboratory. Would be open to both, about how you're really contributing to history and moving forward. And so it's an opportunity to be creative and to really express your interests of why you wish to participate in the Collaboratory. So feel free to open that today for that experience. And then we have another question of, do students get a budget for their projects, or does the funding expand to cover all costs of the project? It's a great question. We've been working very closely with Columbia World Projects, which is another partner in the Collaboratory, and engaging with them. And they've created some really great resources for students that will help in developing a budget for your project. And so more to come. It will definitely be a strong toolkit that you'll be able to explore to develop a budget for the projects. We will also serve as resources as facilitators of the Collaboratory for any questions that you might have for the projects. And so you'll put forward a budget for the project, and then that budget will be funded to the extent that is available. As Scott had shared earlier, some projects submitted what we call our concept notes, a short proposal, I would say at this stage, that didn't need any funding, but just additional support, that this is what they were going to move forward with. Others requested a few $1,000s. So we're definitely open to engaging and exploring the conversation around what are your needs in order to develop and move forward and progress with the project that you're interested in.
I want to add on that for that phase of the Collaboratory, you should really think about it as an incubator, where for a fixed period of time, we are providing a resource for you to pull together a prototype that is then described and pitched in the symposium. And so those budgets can vary because ideally, you also need to be being creative and planning the life cycle of the project beyond, but also we also provide the platform and visibility for you to make connections to also find ways to perhaps seek funding beyond this incubation phase too. And so it really does vary, as Jill said, but our goal is to provide the funding for you to demonstrate the project as part of the collaboratory activity.
Great. Any additional questions at this stage? Been some really helpful questions to continue to expand on what the collaboratory actually is. Okay, well, it seems like it's gotten a bit quiet. We are definitely here for any additional questions. Our general email account, globalcollab@columbia.edu, is listed on the webpage for the collaboratory, so please don't hesitate to reach out. That will reach a number of individuals and we'll be able to definitely respond as needed for any follow-up questions that you might have. I guess before we close today's session, any final words, Shannon or Scott? I would just say thank you so much for everyone's time, but Shannon, Scott, any final words?
Again, what I'm most excited about this initiative is that it also is giving us a chance to connect with students who may not have otherwise been able to fit a global engagement mobility into their schedule. All of those barriers are removed. I think, I want to encourage students to really consider how this enhances and provide some professional development as well, just an experience that you would not have otherwise had. And so that being said, we look forward to seeing your applications, and we're excited to welcome new students as well as continuing students, because each term this is offered, it really is a clean slate for you as well. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you. I just add my thanks for your participation today, and we look forward to working with you and really consider joining this way of connecting with the Columbia community worldwide. It's proven to be a really exceptional opportunity for students this summer, and especially in our sort of dispersed state that we're in now, those connections to community can be all the more important, and we're here to facilitate that. So thanks again.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Take care.